Hello, my most wonderful artists. It's me, Mrs. DeRusha, and we're back for another week of art. Man, you guys did such a good job on our last project. Those mass self-portraits were amazing. I loved seeing them. You did awesome. So, this inspirational artist that we're going to talk about today is Romero Britto. So, our projects are going to have a lot of color. They're going to be very vibrant. We're going to talk about pop art, and you're going to make some name tags. So you can display your name tags in your workspace at home, on the walls, or on your desk. Sound good? Let's get started. Okay, so here you see two examples, two different ways that you can make this project. You can make one like this where it has a border and then it just has an initial in the center here. Or you could make a larger piece that has your full name. So I put Mrs. D here, but Mrs. Drescher was pretty long. So you can pick which one you want to do, either one or both. It's up to you. So let's see how we're going to make these today. So first thing you're going to need is a piece of paper. It can be any color, white, whatever you have at home. You can use a pencil or you can use a marker, color pencil, crayon. So I'm going to use the pencil first because I'm going to show you our little trick that we have to making bubble letters. So I'm making my letter first. So I'm making a D for DeRusha. And then what I'm doing is I'm making a bubble around it. I'm tracing around that letter. And then that way I can take a crayon, a marker, something a little bit darker, and I can trace those lines and then go back and erase the letter that I made on the inside. So then that way I'm left with a bubble letter. You can do that with block letters as well, or you can get kind of fancy and you can make graffiti letters or different kinds of text, whichever ones you want to do. So this one's a little fancier. This is a little bit of a graffiti A example. And I didn't do our little trick with that. So if you know how to make bubble letters without, you can go ahead and do that. So then what you're going to do for this demonstration is you're going to make a frame around that letter or around your name if you're putting your whole name or nickname or last name. So you're just going to go around and create this rectangle around your letter or your name. Then you're going to break apart that frame. So we're doing that cubist style, like Romero Britto. So when we talked about him and when you saw the videos about him, kind of breaks apart his art, makes it almost look like a puzzle. It has that cubist style. So then we're going to go back in, and inside each one of those spaces, I'm going to add a different kind of design. So in the slide, in your examples and your demonstration here, you have some worksheets that are at the very end that have some different examples of lines, designs, shapes, and patterns that you could use to be inspired to make these different kinds of designs around your nameplate. So you can combine them, you can make up your own. You can look at my example if you want to use some of the ones that I'm making. So simple lines here, zigzags, some vertical and horizontal lines. I have some hearts, some circles, some diagonals and swirls. Here I'm making some curvy lines. So whatever you want to use to design yours, you can even put images or pictures. So here I'm just doing some lines with letter V's, make it look a little bit like laces on a baseball. Some of you did some pretty cool designs in your masks, so you could always add those into your frames as well. So once you have your frame finished, what you're going to do is you're going to go back into your name, your letters that you created, and you're going to break those apart just like we did on the frame and just like we see in the examples that Romero Britto made. So once I break apart those letters, I'm going to go back inside just like on the frame, and I'm going to add different kinds of lines and design. So same process, you can use different ones, you can use the same ones, it's up to you. So once you're finished with your frame and you're finished adding your designs to your letters, then you're ready to color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you another example of if you wanted to make your whole name or if you wanted to use a larger piece of paper and add more details. So what I'm saying here is making sure that you're not making your name or your letter too small. You want to make sure you make it large enough to fill out the paper. And then that way when you display your name tag at your house or wherever your workspace is, you can see your name. So here I'm doing our little trick. I'm going to write Mrs. D, not writing out Darusha, a little bit long, up to you, whichever you want to put. You're going to put your name, and then I'm going to show you how to outline that again. Do our little trick where you trace around your letter so that it creates that bubble letter. So you see I'm going around the M, and then I'm just going to continue going around the R, and the S, even around my little period there, and around the D. And then I go back in, and I'm just going to erase those letters that I made at the beginning. So then that way I'm left with that outline, and it creates that block letter. Once I've erased everything, now I can go back with something a little bit darker like a black marker or a crayon, pushing a little bit harder with the colored pencil just so that it shows up a little bit darker and can be seen. So once I have that finished, now I'm going to start working on my background. So just like Romero Britto, I'm going to break apart the background, almost like a puzzle. So I can make about 5, 6 lines. I don't want to make too many just because that's a lot of spaces I have to fill in. But if you want to have a lot of designs and a lot of color and a lot going on in your name tag, then you can break apart that background into more sections like a puzzle. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in and inside the letters and inside of all of those puzzle pieces that I made in that background, I'm going to create different kinds of line designs and patterns. I can use different kinds of shapes. I can use those worksheets at the end of the slides like I talked about that have some examples, and you can use those as some inspiration. So now that I finished my letters, I'm going back and I'm filling in those spaces behind. So I'm making up this design just by using different diagonal lines. I'm creating this illusion background that looks like overlapping pieces. So you can create your own. It's kind of fun to see what you can do with different kinds of lines and shapes that you already know, how you can mix and match them and put them together. So this section here, I think I'm going to break it apart. I'm going to make it 3 different sections because it was a little bit larger. You can do that. You can always change your mind and fix things and add things. And then I'm just going to add some horizontal and vertical lines here to make it look like a brick wall. I think that would be kind of fun. And then I'm going to do some made up ones over here. Maybe make it look like some hanging twinkly lights. So you can add different scenes, different objects, different images. Anything that you think would be fun to color. You can even put things that you think represent you. I know a lot of you like unicorns, and a lot of you, like me, enjoy fall. So I know you put some pumpkins on yours, or you put some flowers, some animals. You can always add those in the background because this is something that you're going to be looking at almost every day considering it's in your workspace. So you want to make it about you as well. So I'm just filling in these last few spaces. And if you're following along with me while I'm doing this and you miss any of the steps or you're watching something that I'm drawing and you're not sure about how I did it, the nice thing is you can always rewind and look at the video again. So some hearts here in the corner. That looks good. So once you're finished adding all of your different designs, if you did them in pencil first, you can go back and you can trace them with a darker color so that they stand out. So I have my letters filled in, I have my background done. So now what I can do is I can start coloring. So I want to add as much color as I can. We talked about how Romero Britto is a pop artist. So that means that he would use a lot of color in his artwork. So what we don't want to do is we don't want to take a color and just fill in the whole thing. So I wouldn't want to take this orange and just color over everything in the orange. I took all this time to add all these different sections and to put different kinds of lines and designs in each one of them. So I also want to take my time and I want to fill them in individually and have all of that color. So you see here, I'm taking the orange and I'm just filling in the hearts. So then that way I can add a different color to the background. You can use whatever you have at home to color these. You can use crayon, colored pencil. Ooh, look at that magic. I colored that very fast. So what I'm doing right now is I'm telling you that if you're using a darker color, a little tip is you can then go back in and you can use a lighter color and color over that to fill in those empty spaces. You'll also notice that I'm turning my paper. There is no rule saying that your paper has to stay in one spot. You can turn your paper, you can move it. That way it's easier for you to color. Focus on staying in your lines. Work on that craftsmanship so it looks like you're taking your time and you're doing your best work. And same thing here, a little trick. I'm taking that lighter color and I already have those triangles filled in so I can go right over top of them and it doesn't mess up my color. So also you'll notice I was using those long lines, using my whole hand and arm moving around, not pushing really hard and only coloring in one spot because that would take me a lot longer to color. So I'm almost done filling in everything. I have my whole background done there, so all I have to do is fill in the rest of my letters. Same thing, I'm going in with a darker color on those circles, taking my time. And that way I can go back over them with a lighter color and fill in those empty spaces. So here you see I have everything colored. I took my time, the whole background and my name. So now you can take this and you can display it in your work area that you have at home. I have both examples here, the one with the frame and the one with the letter or your name in the center, and then the one that has all the designs in the background. So whichever one you chose to do, I'm so excited to see them. Make sure that you upload your beautiful masterpiece to our Google Classroom so that I can display them. Thanks, everyone.